All right, this is Mike Pisani, and we're going to be talking about unusual option activity and how to master and trade it. It is June 8th. You can reach me if you need to get a hold of me at mike@alphashark.com, or my Twitter handle is @optionsmike. Welcome, guys. I hope everybody's doing great today and has had a good week. Green week is a positive week, and I've done well this week, although gotta say I've left more money on the table than I would have liked. But well, that happens so often, so not a big thing. So tonight, what do I want to talk? Oh, okay. So first off, the disclaimer. Day trading, short-term trading, option trading, and futures trading are extremely risky undertakings. They generally are not appropriate for someone with limited capital, little or no trading experience, and or low tolerance for risk. Never execute a trade unless you can afford to and are prepared to lose your entire investment. All trading operations involve serious risk, and you can lose your entire investment. No trades are recommendations or advice, and we cannot be sued for loss of capital. All trades are for educational purposes only. Contact your broker or RIA for execution, margin, and other capital requirements. Everyone watching presentation adheres to all risk disclaimers on www.optionhacker.com, alphashark.com, and from myself, Mike Pisani. Good. Now we got that out of the way. All right. So tonight we're going to quickly go over option terms to be aware of, just so that everybody's on the same page. And I do want to spend some time talking about oscillators and sentiment because I believe they're important here with this market right now. We'll go over today's unusual activity today, how I traded it, how to trade it going into tomorrow. And we do have some stuff going on. We'll be watching live. Talk about my service offering. And as always, we take the rest of the time to go over your charts. So we'll get there once we get through the presentation. All right, so option terms. This is the stuff you need to know if you're listening to me or see me talking. So what are terms? And most of you probably know this, so we won't spend a lot of time, but a sweep. A sweep is an options player who wants to, basically get those options and get them quickly. They sweep across multiple exchanges as quick as possible. How does a friend join tonight's trader? See if I can get that real quick. So sweeper is the most bullish or bearish of anybody who's looking to get out there and play options, because they sweep across multiple exchanges very, very quickly, as quick as they can. A block is where a player comes in and they negotiate all their options through one single exchange. So still can be bullish or bearish depending upon what they're doing, but really it's the player comes in and they're not as in a rush, then they're going to negotiate that. Split similar, they negotiate that buy of those options across multiple exchanges, usually two. And lastly is tied to stock, and that's just not very clean, guys. When something's tied to stock, the buyer, the seller, it's very hard to tell what his real intent is and what they're doing there. So we've seen a lot of that lately too, by the way. A lot of positions, options that have been bought and sold have been tied to stock in the market the last couple weeks. And that is indicative of a market that is, just kind of where we are here. A little bit choppy, players are a little bit unsure. Breaking news, by the way, SoftBank announces deal to acquire Boston Dynamics from Alphabet. So Alphabet's selling some of their robotics off. That's interesting. All right. What else you need to know? Put call sellers. A player sells puts. It's often associated with willing to own a stock at that price. Very, very bullish. It's one of my favorite plays. It's usually where I like to go long and go long with time when I see that. Likewise, a player selling calls is often calling a top. We did see that recently in the banks. We haven't seen a lot of that in the last week, though. Volume is how many puts or calls have been traded at strike on a given day. This tells us, give us an idea of how many people are really trying, how much activity there is. Is it big or is it small? Open interest shows you how many puts or calls have been traded on that strike in the past and what's sitting out there now in open interest. It doesn't tell if it's bought or sold. It just tells us what's been played there. And size of the bet, dollars-wise as well as options, gives us an idea of how much that player is willing to put it on the line, how big they're willing to go. All right, so break from options for a minute. Want to talk to you quickly about oscillators. Does anybody here use oscillators? Do you guys know about them? Are you familiar with them? Not too much. Okay, so we're going to go over options, oscillators, and sentiment here. So oscillators, they're great indications that the market is getting bearish or bullish and due for a reversal. So we'll use those to go out there and say, if we're getting to a certain level, we should start to look for either sideways actions or potentially a change in the market direction or character. Sentiment is another tool I like to use, and it just really kind of goes out there and measures how bullish or bearish investors are. And when we get too extremely in one direction or another, we often get a contrary move. And I got to tell you, right now, this market's getting a little bit too bullish again. It tells us that maybe we might be hitting into some problems or might hit in another direction sometime in the near future. And lastly is the put to call ratio. Using this tells us how many puts or calls are being bought in the market. And usually when this swings one way or the other too fast, we get a contrary move to try to flush out some of those people within the market. So the oscillators, I use the McClellan oscillators, and they're measurement of momentum of the advanced decline line or net advances. So basically it's saying, if a market's strong, you have a lot of advancers versus decliners. If a market's weak, you have a lot of decliners versus advancers. When it gets too blown in the one direction, you tend to get an inflated market and you tend to look for some type of change in the action. The NYMOT, it measures the New York Stock Exchange, and the NYMOT, the NAMOT, measures the NASDAQ. So this is the NYMOT as it closed today. So what I want you to focus on as we look at this is these lines I've drawn here for your help, and I use them as two. When we get above 200, usually we're looking for a very significant spike in the market. That means we're having some type of extreme move higher in the markets, like we saw back here in March of last year. Likewise, when we get under 200 and even closer to 300, we're usually looking at a big reversal. We saw that back in February of last year. If you look what's been going on most of this year, other than that one quick spike we had, we've been very, very neutral. The good news is when you're neutral like this, you very rarely get a massive sell-off in the markets. So this is something I keep an eye on. Your big sell-offs generally start to happen when you're up closer to these tops up here. So you can see the NYMOT, we've been bouncing around. Even with today's strength in the markets early on, we closed down with the banks being strong, and energy continues to be a big drain on the New York Stock Exchange. Over on the NASDAQ, it doesn't quite work as well. It doesn't quite get to 200 as often. The NASDAQ seems to just sell off a lot more and buy in a lot more, so you don't get the extreme moves you see on the NYMOT. But you can see they do get over and above 200 here. Again, with only a couple names in the tech sector really in play right now, there's been a lot of selling underneath there. And you can see that that's affecting the oscillator. And overall, the cues are not primed for a massive sell-off without a black swan event, without something going on here. At least not right now, at least not the way we're currently set up. So this is good news. On to the bad news, sentiment. So sentiment is, contrary to popular belief, when sentiment gets too bearish or bullish, especially with the retail investor, when we try to measure what the retail investor is doing, we generally get a flush in the market, to try to get them out, either a short squeeze or squeeze the longs and try to break them out. And I have over here the chart of the SPY current, and you can see how this has happened. This day here, that trip to the 8-day in the market, that fast and furious down move here got a lot of people out of the markets, got a lot of shorts in, and allowed us to then squeeze up as people try to chase, cover their shorts to a new all-time high here. Then we had this little sell-off, and yesterday we had that big flush to the 8-day, and it's allowing people to come back in here, so getting some shorts back in the market. This is a good thing. This allows us to move forward. Some of the things I like to look at are the Fear and Greed Index from CNN, Stock Twits, and the Put to Call on Thinkorswim, because that's the tool I use. So if we're looking at this today, you can see the Fear and Greed Index is neutral. It's at 55, and it's showing you where it's been. So other than 1 year, for the last little while, it's been very neutral. It's kind of like the markets, right, guys? The markets have been kind of chopping around, very neutral, but every dip to the 8-day has been really buyable at this point. This is not an accident here. They reset their data, so it's not as far back as it used to be on StockTwits. But if you type in a symbol of the ETF or even a stock and you hit the sentiment tab, it'll show you the sentiment. And you can see right now we're getting really bullish. Anything over 70 starts getting really bullish on these, possibly too bullish. We're 82% on the Qs, and we're about 70, right at 70% on the SPY. Thanks, Mark. That's great to hear. So you can see how sentiment's setting up, getting a little retail investor is getting a little bit too bullish. The other thing to look at and watch it intraday is to put to call. When you get spikes in one direction, so like here, back on this day, everybody started loading up on protection. They intraday reversed and went and took the markets back the other direction. Likewise, you can see today there was a lot down here. We've had a lot of call buying early in the day, and they started softening that up late in the afternoon, right, when they started pulling the markets. We saw that going on. Anybody have questions about this? So why am I showing you this? I'm showing you this because there is a lot going on out there underneath the covers. And even though the market's going up to sideways, sentiment's getting heated, and when retail investors specifically gets overheated, too much sentiment, they love to come in and clobber them. JD, on what? On which one? Yep, I can go back one. By the way, guys, I am recording this. I will post this on my Twitter feed later on. Okay, so JD, bearish. For me, I find once you get over 70% on the ETFs, you have some issues. And even on individual stocks, when people start getting up over 70%, they're really starting to get bullish. That's usually when somebody comes in and takes some profits and whacks them down a bit. You know, and you'll see it. Just watch it over time. Put to call. So all this is a measure of the amount of puts versus calls being bought that day. And when you see a lot of put buying, like on this day, they usually come in and whack them because there's too much protection out there, right? Likewise, when there's too much call buying, they like to come in and hit them too intraday. And that's sometimes why you see those reversals there intraday. Any other questions on this before we move on to today's flow? Just pay attention to these things out there. They're easy to get. These are all free. There's no charge for any of this stuff. It's just you can go out there and get this on your own. All right. So today's action. Hopefully everybody had a good day. There was tons of things to do today out there and things to play. Okay, I don't put my Facebook. I keep my Facebook profile private. I am available out on Twitter, though. I do that. So I've upgraded this a little bit, just made a couple minor changes to this. So as we go along here, I added a 15-minute chart in. Twitter, options, Mike. There you go. So first thing today I want to start with is AMD. And why AMD, guys? Because AMD had this beautiful move. We see this on the daily chart over here, 1, 2, 3, and we pushed back up again here today. It is a little extended, but they've been buying calls on it every day. And today, there wasn't a lot going on until late this afternoon. And late this afternoon, we saw a bull risk reversal come in, where the player sold the September 10 puts and they bought the September 14 calls with the profits from that. And then we saw a bunch of call sweepers around it. So there's definitely more action coming into AMD here. So this is a name I'd watch moving forward. It is still extended here off the 8-day. It's had a big move, but something to watch, and it still hasn't finished filling this gap. This gap goes all the way up to 1360-ish, right? We'll give you the exact number. Hover our mouse over it. 1363. So something to keep an eye on. Another name to keep an eye on here. Why does call? Because call. Why does call buying cause stocks to rise? Call buying causes to rise when players coming in, and usually there's money coming in behind it. Somebody who's buying stock often buys calls beforehand. And also when people see big order flow coming in, they like to come in and buy the stock based upon that too. Marvel today. Marvel saw the July 16 calls bought right on the open. And while it came back down and closed, it didn't move. And this has a nice upper level flint here. So something I would be watching here. All right. So the other name that was big time in play today was NVIDIA. And I don't have to tell you guys, but NVIDIA, we had the Citigroup target of 180 thrown onto it today, gapped up, and as soon as it dipped, they started buying calls, and they bought calls all the way up today. And I was telling people in the private mentoring today, you could have traded NVIDIA with 100 shares, and you could have bought it right here when they first came in at 154 and sold it up here around 159 before the market closed. On 100 shares, you would have been up $500 without a lot of risks behind it, with $1 worth of risk, $100 risk. Kate, you can always sell puts. I don't sell naked puts, so that's just me. But if you want to sell puts on AMD, you can. That's just not what my game. I don't sell naked puts or calls. So NVIDIA saw all day long, and the thing I want to point out is they started buying late. July 170 calls, June 30th 152 calls. We saw tomorrow's 157.50 calls. So they were buying big time up into the end of the day here. So I would watch this name on any dip here to see if I can get back in. Tesla, I know you guys have all been playing Tesla. Tesla today, very early on, right on the open, a player came in and set the tone. He bought tomorrow's 360 calls, almost $500,000 of them on the open. And then we started seeing some sweepers into the dip. And what makes me think that this may have more to go is at the end of the day, somebody came in and just tattooed the June 9th 380 calls. That's tomorrow's expiration. Hard to chase here. It's very extended off the 8-day. It's had a huge move. But if any dips tomorrow, I might take a shot on this as well if you like the name. So let's talk about some names that can be played off the action today that didn't move much. HIMX, H-I-M-X. They're buying the January 2019 7 calls. Nice play for a small account, something you want to take a look at. The chart looks very constructive if it's running back up here. So something I would take a look. I did trade Tesla today. I had a win on it, not as big as I should have because I got out after getting very red on it early. But I did have a nice win on Tesla today. So I did trade Tesla today. I traded X today, had a very big win on X. I traded for solar today, had a very small win. I didn't want to play with it, and I took a moderate loss on Google, then scalped it for a nice win into the end of the day. And so it was overall a very green day for me. All right, BABA. I know you guys all saw this. Probably nobody chased this. Props to my friend Katie who came in late, bought the dip, and had a huge win on some July 140 options that she bought. They started buying the dip first thing this morning, and they came in with size and gusto all day long. I saw some of the ones that were out there. July 155 calls, January 170 calls got bought large, and some of these were big. I think the June 30th 145 calls was almost $2 million, went off on that one sweep there alone. October 145 towards the end of the day for about a $900,000 bet. Hard to chase this up here. I have a feeling we're going to see a bunch of upgrades in BABA, and I don't think this is done, guys. I'd rather buy a dip than buy here, but just something to keep an eye on. There was big money into the option world there today. JD was weird. They bought the open. They came in right away on this. They bought it at the open. They bought the June 30th 43 calls, and it sold off into the close. They bought a lot of them, too. So this is something I'd be looking at here as we move forward. Big volume today on the coming in. See if it can find a way to come in. I know that because Trade Alert tells me. It tells me whether it's a sweeper or it came across as a block or as a split ticket. Also, even in like Thinkorswim, you can go in there and you can see them sweeping across multiple exchanges. So some of the names we saw some continuing action in ABBV. Didn't do much after it, but they did come back. They hit this yesterday. This is the second day in a row now they've hit it, and they did go back and buy the June 67.50 calls again. Thinkorswim is the platform you're looking at here that I used to do my trading on. Remote. Another name to watch going forward is X. First of all, X. I love today's candle. All right, move this out of the way. All right, beautiful candle. Broke above the 21-day finally after being trapped below it forever. Had good volume, closed well. I like this. They came in a couple times, not big, but they hit the August 27 calls. Buying X on strength has been hard. Buying it on weakness has worked. I would watch to see how it opens tomorrow, how it responds, and if it hits the 21 days and hold it, I would not be afraid to go long with the August 25s. It would take it right up to the edge of this gap, and I do think it has enough juice to get to the edge of that gap. After that, I'm not sure. We do have a pretty big gap to fill here at some point if it really wants to be strong. If you think the Trump trade is coming back, you could look at a name like Deere. They came into Deere today with some size. They came in and they hit the September 130 calls. So this is something you can look at going off tomorrow. Lots of action like that. First Solar, I told you I traded that. They hit the July 7th 38 calls. Didn't do much after they came in, where they came in here. That's why I didn't stick with it. But, we'll see. This name has a way of waking up when you least expect it. The chart is still constructive, holding the 21-day now back above the 8-day. Some other names. V saw some action, nothing big. Citibank, which has been on fire, saw action throughout the day. You can see they came in buying, and they were buying the June 23rd 86. I'm sorry, June 962 calls, the June 64 calls. We even saw them going out and getting the June 65 calls. So there was a lot of action in here. Likewise, Bank of America picked up a lot of action. And if you look at Bank of America and you look at the July 24 calls, the action there was a ton of calls, small sweepers all day long into that line. And then, of course, we saw the news today that the House has the votes to repeal Dodd-Frank. So we may see a lot of activity in the banks tomorrow if the market holds in. Futures are off a little bit on what's going on in Britain, but we've seen this before and it gets bought back up overnight. I do want to point out on the SPY, we did have a sweeper into the low of the day. He came in and nailed it, and this player bought the June 14th 244 calls right here. And one other one, the IWM I want to share with you guys. IWM had a call buyer into the highs of the day, but the player came in and they bought the June 142.50 calls. It was a large bet, and I like this because it's starting to break out. It's getting back to its all-time high. It's starting to show a little bit of leadership again. So it is almost 8:30. What else do I have? We'll go over some puts. There was some puts to be bought today out there. ROST, Ross Stores, came in. Chart looks horrible. Player came in right here and tagged the August 60 puts, about $350,000 worth of them. So he went out of the money, bought puts out into August there. Also low, LOW. Low came in later in the day towards the close, and the June 76 puts were hit. So a little bit shorter term. Chart looks horrible, breaking below the support area at this point. So player came in and is looking for some protection or thinks it's going lower. What else did we see puts on of note today? SYMC. Don't know anything about this name, guys. Player came in early, hit tomorrow's 30 puts, about $100,000 worth. I didn't know enough. I didn't touch this one. Came down, then quickly bounced back up. So I'm not really sure what's going on here. Whatever the player was looking for was really short term. You guys have any questions on today's flow so far? So every night I do a video. I go over it for the service. I go over much more detail than I go over with you guys. If we talk about a 15-minute video, go over the action. One more I did want to share. Forgot. SHAK, Shack. Why Shack? Because yesterday when the stock was flat, a player came in and tagged a bunch of calls, came back today, and they hit them again. So we've now seen 2 days in a row of them buying Shack. It's a little extended, but you can see where the option flow foretold of a move on this one. So something to take a look at. These are the types of things I go every night in the video. I do post a video once a week for free so you guys can watch it and see it. So with that said, I did want to pitch this real quick, and then we will be going over your charts for the rest of the night. Just lost my PowerPoint. All right, so what are we doing here? Let me go quickly to it. Every day we're going over the market overview, talking about what's taking place, what's going on with it. This is a teaching service. To go along with that, we are doing a weekly webinar. Every Thursday at 6 p.m. we do a monthly boot camp that we go over. We talk about sizing positions. We talk about how to help you out trades. We talk about setups. We talk about all different things that you need to know how to trade and help you with position sizing and account management. So this is something we go over every day. You get a video that's usually about 15 minutes long at the end of every day, going over the option flow and the market sentiment and where we're heading towards. We get the weekly webinar and then the boot camp every third Saturday. We have an hour to a 2-hour boot camp going over topics you guys want to talk about and talking about how to trade options and really educate you guys and teach you on this. My option flow mark comes from Trade Alert. That's where almost everybody gets it. We all have our own version of it. We customize it and we read the flow off of that. So this service is, you can sign up at alphashark.com, best coaching. The first month is $99. It renews at $149 a month. And if you're not a member of Alpha Shark Trading Room, AK has said he'd throw in a month for free. Just have to ask for it when you sign up. So this is the service. It's been going for about 2 weeks now. Really enjoying working with you guys. We've had 2 of the webinars already. So pretty easy. Daily recaps, webinar every week, talk to the pros. I'll probably bring special guests in on occasion to talk about things. And then the monthly recap. No, I do not use AK's criteria to identify unusual option. I have my own stuff I use, JD. I know AK uses Option Hacker. That's his proprietary tool. Any questions here? If I really want to spend some time on your charts today, because I know everybody has a lot of questions. So any charts you want to see, now's the time to start asking for them. All right. So first up, I start with the SPY, and I'll let you guys get a couple of these up, and we'll go with it. What do I love about the SPY? It's holding the 8-day. Every dip to the 8-day is getting bought. Hit, hold, hit, hold, hit, hold. We have a doji today here. RSI is not overheated yet. Bollinger Band, we have room. Money is leaving a little bit, but not badly. There's a lot to still like about this. It's been a very low market environment. I still think there's room for this to go higher at this point if we get some stuff. It's good stuff going for us. I do, Ramu. I talk every day for an hour to 2 hours. I talk about the option flow. I talk about what I'm seeing. I talk about my trades. And I will absolutely in webinars go over technical analysis and in the education ones I do with my service. So SPY I still think looks constructive here as long as it holds the 8-day. It is a little extended off the 21-day. That's one thing I would just warn us about. That might need a little bit more sideways before it goes. But this market, who knows? All right, Google. So Google, it still looks really great. It's been heated for a long time. CMF, the chocolate money fund, you see that money flow is still high. Money's staying with it. It's just resting. You got a nice big long hammer candle today off the 8-day. It's held it every time. So since the gap, other than that big down day, it's held the 8-day every time and closed back above it. You have to like that. It's showing strength. I try to keep going long this versus the 8-day, hoping we get one of those big days to go on out. ETE fee. And I think you can stay with it versus the 8-day. ETE. Guys, energy names are the kiss of death right now. I know there's some people are looking to go bottom fishing in these names, and they may get it, but it's tough. Really, really tough here. Maybe, you start looking for some support. It may be down here. I mean, it doesn't have a lot of well-identified support here. Maybe towards the 16 area. Today, not so much, Digi, on energy. Yesterday, they were buying short-term puts on them. Not so much today. So today, not so much. Today, they just weren't focused. They weren't as a concern. So I don't know. If you're looking to go long, maybe you try reverse off of one of these pivots here. I don't know. I haven't seen anything for a little bit on this one. Why the SPY versus the SPX? Actually, I use the SPX most nights. Somebody asked for the SPY. I do like the SPX because it doesn't have dividends and doesn't take that into account. It looks just as good. So I do like this. I do like that as well. All right, Amazon. Amazon's like Google to me right now, guys. Come on. Right? Continues to ride the 8-day here. Charts look very similar. Looks good. What's of interesting to me, there was a big call buyer earlier in the week and last week into the 1020s that expire tomorrow. Wonder if we get a move up to there at this point, somebody trying to get out of there. So I like this name off the 8-day. Another name I keep trying to go back to every time it starts to move. I've made money off of it this week. I'm not long it here today. I'm not long it right now. I'm actually flat tonight. I went home with no positions. I've done that the last couple nights. AMBA, ugly gap down, but you had one hell of a tail on this candle today, guys. There was no call buying of note. I didn't see anything special into it. It's way out of the Bollinger Bands at the moment, although they're coming down. Way off the 8-day. I think you could try this for a dead cat bounce here at this point. Maybe try to get up towards this 100-day moving average, which is around 55.50. So maybe something you can try there if you like it. And then maybe try to short it once everything moves down into it because it looks really, really bad here at this point. Gilead, gold. GLD. GLD, yesterday they were buying gold in the miners left, right, and center. And I think when the commie news started to break that he wasn't going to throw Trump under the bus today, they started selling it. And now you see the fear, it's all coming back down here. It's a tough trade right now, guys. If you guys are gold bugs, you have a series of higher lows here and you have an uptrend here. So I would say if you want to try it, wait to see if it comes back and retest that uptrend, which will probably be somewhere around 117 to 120 at that point, if it's something you want to play. AMD we talked about already today. Real quick again, AMD looks great, but it's out of the Bollinger Bands. It's extended. Still has some gap to fill here. It's way off the 8-day. I'd rather buy weakness than buy it here, but this market, they like to pile into names, so you may have to chase, Jack. Shop. By the way, AMD, I prefer to trade with common and not options. It does move enough that the common plays pretty well. Shop is a nice look. No, that's not shop. That's shop. Nice looking chart. Man, hell of a move. Nice flag up here after this here. You get a little cup, little handle forming possibly. I think you could stay long with it versus the 8-day. I would try to buy it off the 8-day. I haven't seen a call buying. The bands are getting tight again. After this big move, it's consolidating. It's still a little heated, but the one thing about SHOP, it shows that it can stay heated. So I wouldn't get overly concerned about the RSI on this one. Try to buy it off the 8-day like a day like today is a great place to buy this at this point. Momo. So bad earnings on Momo. It's trying to rebuild here. Today was a really bad funky candle, but we saw that on a lot of the names today out there. I haven't seen anything really special in the call buying into it yet. I don't have a strong feel for the stock here, to be honest with you. Money has left. Technicals are not great, although it's trying to hold in. I would try to stay long it versus the 50-day if you wanted to try it there. It's back above all the moving averages, but it closed real weak, so I'll have to see how this plays out. See how it plays tomorrow. If it holds the 8-day and tries to bounce, I might try to trade it there. Apple's a name I've been watching. I've played it a couple times this week. It looks really good. So what do I like about Apple? The bands are getting really tight. It's perking up. It's riding the 8-day. To me, this looks like a stock that's just waiting for its turn, Ramu. Okay? It's just waiting for a rotation into it. They've been playing with other names right now. This one could get its turn. It's not far from its all-time high. So I like it. I keep trying to buy it every time it hits the 8-day and see if I can get something out of it. I just can't get a big thing going on it at this point. Facebook, my friend, woke up today as I was shooting my video and I didn't get a chance to buy calls. They were buying calls into the close, the weekly 155s. It was traded sloppy most of the day. So I did trade it this week. I made money on this day or last week. This was a topping candle. It said get out, down follow through, tagged the 8-day, reversed, held, hit the 8-day again, and now is right at all-time highs again. Kurt, yes, it's being recorded, and I will post it on Twitter when I'm done. I like this setup a lot going into tomorrow. I think any weakness you try to buy and see if you can get this thing to get a move in it tomorrow. NTES, I completely missed this move this week. Want to kick myself hard for it. It was focused elsewhere. So you had this beautiful move from 285 area all the way up to 313. Today it gapped up to 323, but immediately pulled with a lot of the Chinese names. And the reason they did is, Baba was the winner. Everything else just gapped up in support. See the breakout area here, 308? It held that. Notice how it held that right to that point. I think it's strong. It's out of the bands. It's extended. It would like to see a little sideways actions before I chase this one here, Mark. Regen. Try it again. Regen, I know, has had a huge move. I have not seen any call buy. What the hell? Seriously? All right. So there was a call buyer on this day that nailed the bottom. It's had this huge move up. It's hard to chase a stock that's gone from 370-ish to 485, but it looks great. Riding the 8-day here, like Google, like Amazon. This thing looks fine up here. It's one of the few biotech companies that looks really good. I would try to buy dips, but and not try to write breakouts on it. That's the one thing I would say. Try to buy dips, not breakouts. We went over Amazon already. Yelp. And one thing I want to stress, guys, the market is, we're extended. We haven't gotten pullbacks. Don't, be careful buying breakouts. Try to buy the dips and then get to the breakout. It gives you a little bit more wiggle room. Yelp, nice look. I lost track of this one this week. It's back in the gap here above this 30 area. It's got a big gap to fill. It's at the top of the Bollinger Band. Goldman Sachs has been defending in this thing left and right since this horrible bottom. I haven't seen any call buying on it. That's strange. I haven't been coming after it. Other than being at the top of the Bollinger Band, this looks like it can go, and I'm not really overly concerned with being at the top of the Bollinger Band. This thing will turn up quick. Good chart. And if you really like it, I'd buy options out in time to give yourself room for it to run. JP Morgan. So JP Morgan, the banks, they all woke up today. Notice that it stopped right at the 50-day, and this has been one of the problems the banks have been having. Most of them have been being held in by the 50-day. Do you have a downtrend? All right, I'm going to do some drawing here, guys. Hang tight. So you can see a downtrend coming in right here as well, right? So it did have a head and shoulder top. It had broken the neckline. It came right back above it. So it completely immediately said it wasn't going to break down on this day. Nice move here. See how it handles this. I think the banks can get going. This thing will run quickly back up towards the top of the Bollinger Band here and this 89 area. I like the 8-day. Why do I like the 8-day? For me, I find that shows when there's fast momentum on a daily in the name, and the 21-day as well. Those are my momentum indicators. Those are the ones I like. I know some people use the 10 days, use the 5. For me, the 5 is just too quick. 5 is too choppy. I like the 8, but use whatever works for you. Baidu. By the way, how are you using my name? Is your name actually Mike? It's got me a little wigged out. So Baidu, there was a call buyer in it yesterday, nailed the bottom, got the bounce, gapped up today, and I know people who were in it overnight and very basically couldn't get out of their options fast enough the way this thing came down. This thing is trading wide and loose and sloppy. It has broken above a long-term downtrend, but it just cannot get going. Yeah, Raman, you got caught in it too. One thing I will always tell you guys, when you have big gaps ups in name, try not to chase the gap up. There's almost always some dip you can come in and buy. Chasing gap ups, large ones, usually gets you in trouble. They love to come back on those. Nope, Amazon, JP Morgan, Baidu, On, another semiconductor, by the way, happened to semiconductors been really hot here. On, nice move today with the rest of them breaking above resistance here the last 2 days off the 8-day. See how it's tags the 8-day and it goes top, looks ready to run a little bit. There had been a lot of call buying back in here. Haven't seen any lately. Chart looks very nice here. Little bit heated, but not bad. This thing can go higher, especially since the semis are hot. Short interest, I'm not sure what you're asking. You can go out to things like finance.yahoo and see the short interest there. CLVS. I used to play this name a lot a bunch of years ago and gave up on it. Looks nice. Top of the bone. It looks better than most of biotech right now, I'll tell you that. Held the 200-day on its dip, rebuilding back above all the moving averages. So you got to get over here. So this 5960-ish area, 5960 area, if it gets out of that, I think you have a winner. I think it tries to run. It looks like everything's moving the right direction. 8 days curling up, 21 days curling up. The only one that's not is the 50-day, which will soon if it starts to go. Bollinger Bands are starting to widen. GS, I have played GS this week, had a really nice trade on this yesterday, a couple times in the last couple days. GS, I missed it this morning and a little upset myself, but it's been the weaker of the bank names. It got hit on earnings, which were not good. It came all the way down and it's held the 200-day. Held, back above the 8, now back above the 21. This is my go-to name in banks for one reason. It has range. And with options players, we like things with range, and this one can move. So, Bank of America options are tough. They don't move that much. You need to buy a lot of them and go in the money. I like GS here. First test would be the 50-day, and then see if we can get back up and get up to this area here around 228 and see where we can go. What else, guys? What else can I do for you? My throat is shot. My voice is shot. Let me see what else. Look at IWM. And then we'll hit win. IWM, look at this. It's been this long, long sideways channel. I love when things get long sideways channel because when they break out, they generally move big. So if they're rotating the small caps and it's starting to feel like they are, look at the IWM to run here up towards the 145 area. Something to keep an eye on. See if they can't keep coming for it. Win. I know a couple of people who went long win weekly options overnight into the close. Love the channel. Love the way it's set up. This thing's been on the go all year. Beautiful gap. Controlled pullback to the 8-day, held, and now it's just about re-engulfed that range. Win to me looks like it's ready to keep going. I like win a lot here. What options? I get my options alert myself from Trade Alert, Jazz, and I provide an option service to update you guys every night. We talked about it. It's $99 for the first month, $149 it renews at, and you can sign up for it at, type it in, it includes not only that, does it include the nightly updates, it also includes a webinar, a private webinar every week for everybody for 30 minutes and then a monthly boot camp. Thanks, bro. I appreciate it. Listen, I only try to talk up things I like and really want to go with. If I don't like it, I'm going to let you know right off the bat. I don't want you guys chasing after things. My favorite setups are to look like, I post charts on Twitter for you guys every night. I'm looking for setups. And when I see something I like, I'm looking for option flow to validate that setup. Does that make sense? So if there's a setup I like Facebook, the option flow into the end validated. So Avgo, Broadcom did see some call buying into yesterday. I like Avgo here, JD, because it's a semi, and the semis are hot. So, and they seem to be rotating around in them. So I like this name. It looks good here. The options are not the best in the name. That's the one thing that tends to keep me out. My Twitter handle, I can give you that to you. There you go. So I do like this one as well. GWB, again, this all seems the market holds up, guys, and I want to say that with you. The market has to hold in. To this point right now, buy the dips. Every dip has been buyable so far, and until that changes, keep trying. But when you buy a dip, put a stop not far below there. Don't let it get too far away from you, right? You're option players. We can always go back in. It is a public Twitter feed, Ramu. I only have a public one right now. GWB, Bank, don't know these guys. Obviously woke up today. This is, are you long it, not in it? From a technical perspective, this is an ugly chart that woke up today on decent volume. It took back the 8 to 21 in the 200 days. So right now for me, what I want to see is it has to hold the 200 and get above 39.55. And if it does that, you have a gap up to 40.18. So I would try to buy, if it keeps holding 200-day, any tip there, I would try to buy it there and see if I could take it to fill that gap and then see where it goes from there. You know, put a stop in somewhere in that place. Gilead, so they've been buying Gilead, I'm not sure, remember if now it's December or January 70 calls all through here, and it's just horrible. I think there was an article pumping Gilead yesterday that they have a bunch of stuff coming up in the works. I used to love this stock. I traded this a couple years ago as it, you know, climbed from the 60s up into the hundreds. I've done nothing but lose money on this thing lately. Every time they buy options on it, the thing quickly fails and rolls over lately. Gotta tell you, I know people are trying to call a bottom here, and maybe it does. But I don't know. It's just not for me right now. Unless I see something change with that stock, I'm not interested, or news. They have a ton of cash. Maybe they'll finally buy somebody. I think I missed Amgen. I apologize for that. Amgen's been a favorite name of mine for a long time. I did catch that. One sec. Let me get this set up right. Okay. So I loved Amgen. They had horrific earnings and they paid horribly for it. So what do I like about Amgen here? It's coming off the bottom. It's regained most of the moving averages except for the 100-day. There's been no call buying in it. If it can get above here in this area, above this 160, let's call it 164.60-ish, I think you can get a move up to this gap of 170. See how it handles up here. It looks good. It looks a hell of a lot better than it did a couple of days ago. But biotech has bounced. So the only thing I'm going to warn you about is if you look at the IBB, it kind of had that big move. It seems to be moving a little bit with it. So just a little careful with it. TLT? I don't know. Bonds, I can't figure out anymore. We're going to get a rate hike in June, in my opinion, and yet bonds are still going up. Got me. Can't figure it out. Looks constructive, right? Looks a lot like it looked a couple years ago where, you know, you get a move out of the Bollinger Bands, comes down to the bottom, moves back to the top, moves back down to the bottom, and moves up. Play the range at this point. Visa had call buyer today. See if I can pull it up while I'm sitting here talking to you. You know, that would be nice if I could actually remember all this stuff. Visa, they bought the June 23rd 96 calls today on the dip, early on in the day. Hard hit today, but closed back above the 8-day. No damage done here. Just looked like a move to get out. Not sure how much it has left. This is not a name that you want to be playing when it's overbought in RSI. It's very hard. So not a name I want to be chasing up here. I'd rather buy this one on a dip. CMG, did you? I'll look at it. I've been watching CMG all week. I have not touched it. I think it looks like it has E. coli again, to be honest with you. This stock is a bad news magnet. Even when they do well, it's a bad news magnet here. So I was going to try it off the 50-day here. It failed. It's down. It's coming down hard now. This is an area of support because it's not clearly defined. The best area I think would probably be closer down to this 445, 446 area again. So it's just back out of play. They hate it again. Who knows? Tesla. Tesla. All right, guys. You guys all know it. Someday the music's going to end this stock, right? Just so we all know that someday Tesla, the music's going to end. That said, it just got heated on RSI. Can you believe that? They were buying out to 380 calls tomorrow, late into the day. Here's the one thing I think you got to be careful of. Look at the history here of this stock. It very rarely gets very extended from the 8-day. We are $20 off the 8-day here. So careful chasing this tomorrow. Also, it's riding the top of the Bollinger Band. When it gets out, it reverts back in intraday. So just keep an eye on that. Something to watch, the 21-day extended. You know, so I still think this thing's not done. The shorts, anybody still short this thing is getting their heads blown off. So we'll have to see how this plays out. I like it still. Just you got to be careful playing. You got to buy dips. You cannot buy gap ups on this thing. And yeah, at some point it's gonna come down. When it comes, the one thing you got to worry about, like this NVIDIA, when momentum leaves it, it's going to come down quick. So just be aware, it's going to fall hard and fast. Square, I don't think a day goes by there's not a call buyer. This thing is beyond heated. Chart looks magnificent. One thing to be aware of, it's a takeout candidate. And there was a rumor yesterday that Dorsey was stepping down. And if that's the case, there's something in the works. Maybe that's going on. So keep an eye on that one. I love the chart. I think they're buying a lot of January calls on this one, 30s, I believe. I think this is something you take long term and you just put it away and you forget about it. You don't actively trade it. You just hold it. You're bearish on Square? Why in the works? Because they're a takeout candidate. They're doing something that a lot of these big companies want to get into, and they're small and easily to take out. Remember who Verizon bought a couple weeks ago? They paid an exorbitant amount for it because they were small. This company like Square is not big. They can take them out pretty easily right now. I think they're a takeout candidate. Just my 2 cents, Jamie. So for what it's worth. CRM, CRM's tough. Oh, if they get taken out, it goes way up. You're going to get that. My guess, if Square gets taken out, it's going to probably be at a 40+% premium. So whatever the stock's trading at, add 40%. Again, I'm not saying it's tomorrow. Dips are better to buy, but we'll see. CRM, it trades sloppy. It's very hard, but it's holding the 8-day here, so it's hard not to like it. Looks like it wants to move higher, just kind of waiting its turn. You'll very rarely see me advise buying stocks when they're that extended that high, Jamie. It's just tough. Your risk reversal is not in your favor anymore, right? It's in the favor of the other direction. FDX had call buyers back here on the UPS rumor that there was an activist investor, and it's just taken off to the races since then. It's heated. This is not a stock that stays heated all the time. It's very rare it gets this high. Play carefully here. It's a little extended. It's showing a little bit of fatigue here at this point. All right, guys. It's been great. Let's see if I can get this to pop up. Of course not. For whatever reason, there we go. So for whatever, guys, if you're interested, I'd love to have you sign up. Give it a try. See if you like the service. First month is $99. Renews at $149. You get the daily videos. You get the once a week mentoring at 6 o'clock on Thursday evenings, and then a boot camp on every third Saturday of the month. Give it a try. I'd love to have you on board. Everybody, I hope you're trading well. Have a fabulous night. I appreciate it, guys. Love doing this for you guys. Next webinar coming up is on the 17th on Saturday at noon. I will put that information out there for you when it's available. So that will be my next webinar on June 17th. Later, guys. Have a wonderful night.